r/AskReddit. What's the most amazing thing about the universe?
The only way we can see the universe is from inside it. We will likely never possess any way of viewing our universe from outside its physicality.
That in the grand scheme of things we are all immortal. Our organic cells will die, our consciousness will cease, and we will no longer be able to directly observe existence, but the atoms that make up our bodies will simply be new compounds. And if energy is neither created nor destroyed, if our atoms continue to be, we will eventually make up the building blocks of new compounds. Pieces of us will watch the sun swallow up Mercury and Venus. Pieces of us will watch supernovae and black holes and all sorts of cosmic phenomena. Perhaps even one day our atoms will return to a nebula, and the cycle will begin again. A new star is formed, new planets begin to orbit it, liquid water forms on a small green rock orbiting this star, and an intelligent species evolves to travel to marvel at the wonders of our universe. One of my favorite shows is Battlestar Galactica, and one of the quotes that stuck out to me was, "All of this has happened before, and it will happen again." I tend to think there's some truth to that. I've had a couple friends and my grandfather die this year, and as an agnostic I am processing death a bit differently from the rest of my family. I don't think of death as the ending, as a finality. I don't think there is an afterlife as most religions conceive of it. I think that in a weird way, we all live forever.
A single human brain has as many neurons as there are stars in the Milky Way galaxy. Around 100 billion. Source: I'm neuroscientist filled with useless facts about the brain.
This is one I thought about recently. I believe that Carl Sagan said that we, sentient entities, are a way for the cosmos to know itself. With this in mind, when we think about the end of our universe, whether it be through a big shrink, big cooling, or what have you, we get apprehensive. We probably will never see this end, many of us will be dead. Yet, we still get a cold fear in our hearts. We are also a way for the cosmos to fear its demise.
If you were on a planet 65 million light years away from Earth and had a really good telescope, you could see the dinosaurs.
That every single random event since the dawn of creation, the birth and death of stars, planets and galaxies, the very genesis of life has led to you being here right now to ask this question.
And I, making this useless comment. Thanks, universe.
We are a long way off from truly understanding the origin and ending of the universe, but we have good theories, and time will see that knowledge refined into fact. This is because we live at just the right time. Remember how galaxies are actually flying apart? This movement is also accelerating. Galactic structures will fly apart faster and faster. They will eventually exceed the speed at which we could ever hope to travel. They may exceed or match the speed of light. But that means that light shining from these quickly receding galaxies will ever reach us, and no ship could ever catch up to them. They will not see cosmic background radiation. So you couldn't see them with any kind of telescope. You'd see stuff in your local group, and that's it, and you'd think that the universe is a foamy cluster of galaxies that has an ending. Future civilizations may never know the true nature of the universe and could think it finite.
Imagine being transported to a parallel universe that was almost identical to our own. Somewhere out in the vastness of that universe, there is a tiny planet. This much is true in both universes. On this planet, there is a beach, and on that beach, there is a small stone. Once again, both universes are alike in this regard. Beneath that stone, however, there are several million grains of sand, and while they all are in precisely the same location in each universe, one of them, a tiny speck of particularly clear quartz, hewn from a larger hole millions of years before, has a single atom that is positioned a fraction of a femtometer differently than its twin in the mirror dimension. You may think that such an insignificant difference would label these two universes as being functionally identical, and you would be right. In fact, they are so similar that the multiverse has long since combined them into one reality. That single atom in that tiny speck of sand on that lonesome beach on a distant planet merely occupies two spaces at once, seeming to an outside observer to vibrate back and forth at a predictable rate. That every atom in existence seems to do the same is probably a coincidence. TLDR, everything is buzzing.
The multiverse interpretation of quantum mechanics is an intriguing idea. There is a related thought experiment called quantum suicide. Basically, you try killing yourself with a gun that only fires when a spin-half particle with two possible states is measured to have spin in a certain direction when the trigger is pulled. In quantum mechanics, before the spin is measured, it exists as a superposition of both spin up and spin down, simultaneously. If the particle is measured to have spin down, it doesn't fire. If it is spin up, it fires, but the idea is that to you, and you alone, as the observer, it will always seem as if the gun doesn't fire. According to the multiverse interpretation, the particle actually collapses into both states upon measurement but in two different universes, and usually we only see one because we as observers are randomly shunted into one of the possible universes along with the collapse of the particle's state. However, in this case, in one of the universes you would be dead due to the trigger setting off. So you should only experience the second possibility, i.e. staying alive, because that is the only one in which you are still conscious. No matter how many times you pull the trigger, the idea goes, the gun never fires and you should always survive from your own perspective. An outside observer, watching you carry out the quantum suicide, would not always see you survive though, since he would remain alive and conscious in both possible timelines, and to him you have a 50-50 chance of dying, as expected.
That it exists.
And it came from somewhere. Or nowhere.
It must be true that either one. It didn't exist, then it did, or two. It has always existed.
Hydrogen plus time equals people and planets.
Hydrogen, given enough time, will send unsolicited cheese pics.
That somehow all the particles accumulated in a specific way and in specific quantities to give you conscious thought.
There are 10 million particles in the universe that we can observe. Your mama took the ugly ones and put them into one nerd.
That whatever our problems are, big or small, it won't matter in 1 million years, worst being a nuclear war or something.
I got 99 problems and the universe doesn't give a sugar about any of them.
How young it is. People look at the universe being 13.7 billion years old and say, that is ancient. That is nothing. Stars will continue to form for another 100 trillion years. Even after that, stellar remnants will exist for quadrillions of years. Black holes will still produce energy that can be used by intelligent civilizations for 10,100 years. Keep in mind, if biological life doesn't destroy itself, we will just keep getting more and more knowledge. It's probably a safe bet that within 500 years, which is nothing on universal time scales, we will be an interstellar species that has long ago transcended biology. There is no telling what our descendants will do for the remaining life of the universe. The 4 to 5 billion years of biological evolution of life on Earth will be looked at as an embryonic stage for endless quintillions of years of real life to begin post-biology. They will view the universe as their oyster, a place of infinite possibilities, while we are still just spending our days trying not to die and trying to avoid being punished by our brains with pain.
It gave us magnets. How do those work?
Magnets are shooing magic. Aligning particles with each other makes them fly towards themselves. Miss me with that hobnocking physics dams.
Inanimate, non-living objects eventually form to make sentient, living beings that question their own existence and want to find facts about the process between the beginning of the universe to now, and even want to anticipate the future. All from some hydrogen Jesus floating around and doing stuff.
It's indifferent to everything.
Yes, it's incredible to think that for all of our morals, our ideas of good karma and bad karma, what goes around comes around, etc. These ideas that feel so ingrained to the world we live in are all mere thoughts in our head, and that the world, the universe, is not just, and seems nothing as good or bad, guilty or innocent, but simply as is. Something I simply cannot comprehend with words.
There is a theory which states that if ever anyone discovers exactly what the universe is for and why it is here, it will instantly disappear and be replaced by something even more bizarre and inexplicable. There is another theory which states that this has already happened. Douglas Adams.
That we just don't understand it. It could be flat, it could be irregular, there could be another one, it's growing at an exponential speed, it's invisible contents. We try to learn more about it using our earthly knowledge, but there is certainly more to it. It's like trying to wrap your head around eternity.
That it doesn't exist to be observed. In fact, under different circumstances all of its trillions of stars and planets and oceans and moons and mountains could exist for billions of years without ever being observed by anyone.
If you nut in space you move backwards.
The infiniteness when you look out there is crazy. Knowing what you can see is on a speckle.
Two possibilities exist, either we are alone in the universe or we are not. Both are equally terrifying. Arthur C. Clarke.
Matter, when subjected to enough energy and time, becomes sentient and ponders its own existence.
Like a really flipped up diamond.
That teeny squeaking sound you get when you rub two pickles together.